Welcome to the Nerve Guys podcast, where we discuss movement, performance, and rehabilitation through the lens of the brain and nervous system. The Nerve Guys podcast is hosted by Gareth Kelly and James McCambridge. To find out more about the Nerve Guys or to book into our online or in-person training programs, please visit thenerveguys.co.uk. The Nerve Guys podcast is sponsored by Elite Vision Sticks. Every day, athletes of all levels are reaching their full performance potential with Elite Vision Sticks. Pick up yours today.
Hello again, welcome to the Nerve Guys podcast. This is Garth and James, and we're here with Lucas. Lucas, Rangeofstrength Hardy. Going for squat and heavy, and then splitting generally. Among other things. But what I say is very quickly, I think, Lucas, if you just give us a brief history about yourself, not life history, not like I was born and then, that kind of thing, just kind of, your training history, what's led you to where you are now, kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me on, guys. Obviously, I'm super into the stuff that you guys are doing, and we've done some great work together evaluating my own brain. So it's cool to see how all those things link up with movement and flexibility and strength. It's just never ending. It's great. But yeah, my name is Lucas. Rangeofstrength is my tag on the socials and stuff. And I think Rangeofstrength, it really stands for the application of strength across all boards. And even more so within flexibility. And that's really my message, and my mission is to get that clear to everyone out there that flexibility training is just as much, if not more, about strength training than it is about just stretching, even though that is a big part of it, and understanding how to do that. I have been working in the field now for over 15 years. It's been a while, and I've kind of just my own journey as a coach has led me this avenue, getting to a point where I realized I knew nothing about flexibility training through my own experiences as a power lifter and a strength coach, led me to really go down that rabbit hole and try to get a better understanding of what I didn't know. And, that led to where we are now with Rangeofstrength. And it's been a culmination of my experience as a strength coach and the experiences I've had. And it's about 8 years now where I've really gone down that flexibility rabbit hole and tried to understand it from different backgrounds. That's I guess a little sum.
So for myself, it's really cool. Watching your stuff has got me very excited about strength training, which I've never been able to say
ever
before. I have this kind of thing. I understand the importance of strength training in pretty much everything, but there's this thing where in my brain it just always looks the same. So if somebody picks up a weight and they look like I don't think they can really pick that weight up, I'm impressed. And then after that, if someone pulls an airplane with their teeth, I'm like, oh, that's really cool. And then everything in the middle for me was always just kind of, what was that, 10 kilos heavier? Is that better, worse? Is it a lot better? I don't really know. And then so to see some of your stuff where you're in these ridiculous positions and then strength training that as well has got me really excited about, I guess, combining a lot of my own teaching that I do with flexibility, and then going, oh yeah, actually the strength at end range, there's even more to that than I'd ever previously thought, I guess. So thank you very much for that.
Cool. Yeah, for sure, man. I think it comes down to, commercialized strength versus everyday strength. And that's where we got to close the gap is, telling everybody that they need to strength train this way just because it's what gets people into a commercialized gym setting and pays for the equipment and all that kind of stuff is, that's one way of thinking, but teaching people to strength train in a way that, improves their everyday lives and their movement capacities and their ability to move, it goes far beyond what's being taught, and we have to search a lot deeper.
100%. I find that a lot of the things, as well as I said, probably every podcast at some point, I blame the fucking 80s. Action films, you know, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Stallone, action films, 70s, 80s. That brought in the whole thing of no pain, no gain, and getting really jacked, but not really focusing on functional. And that's where the modern sort of commercialized way of training has come from.
Yeah.
Because if you look back, and you know this well, old school strongman stuff and old school gymnastic stuff, they used to be not standard, but quite a normalized way of training. And then as people started, not watering it down would actually be the right word, I think. You would see as that was watered down, problems would go up because they just weren't, they were putting on size and strength and muscle, but they weren't actually using themselves structurally or the muscles in the way they're sort of meant to be used. And in the ranges they were used, they lost range.
Yep. The muscles destroyed the movement. The machines destroyed the movement.
Oh, definitely.
And that's where we've been, you know, kind of scratching our way back to say, like, how did we do that? How do we get back to moving like that? How do we get back to restoring flexibility in later stages in life?
Yeah.
Where, you know, we've become so accustomed to moving poorly that we think it's just flexibility, some genetically gifted thing.
Yeah.
And it's not. It's just the approach to your training and taking a less modernized approach to how you strength train, the movements that you do, and applying them in such a way that gives you moving better rather than just, I guess, filling up a muscle.
100%. And I think yourself structurally after a certain point, you can get so, as you say, filled up with muscle that it is quite hard to then actually change and do something else. So I think that's a really good way, the way you made the switch from powerlifter. Well, not made the switch because you still lift heavy, but you've then actually rebuilt the neural pathways in such a way that you've actually gained the strength to be flexible, because you can be flexible with big legs or big chest or whatever. It doesn't matter. It's just the intent and how you apply it. So I've got a quick question. See, when you started down flexibility as a training route, did you notice your awareness of your joints and space, like your awareness of your body, got better than when you were just lifting?
Absolutely. Because it's about spending time in positions, and we don't spend time in positions, right? And you know, it's important to know, flexibility training is strength training, but just being in a stretch, learning how to understand a stretch, what's happening in your body, what the demands are, it's just something that we don't do. And I relate it very much to, like, when I first started strength training, because the first time I put a barbell on my back, it didn't feel good. And it wasn't like I went home and I was like, oh, I can't wait to go back and do that again because I feel like shit. But I went back because I wanted to get stronger. I wanted to, you know, build muscle, and, like, you know, you want all those things when you're young. And I think that experience exposed me to, like, when it really came down that I knew nothing about how to stretch even or be in a position, I had to adopt that same mindset. It's like, this feels like shit. I don't know what's happening, but I need to keep doing this to get better at it. So it's very much its own practice. And as you get comfortable in doing that, you understand positions, you understand, I think this is even where end range training or end range strength, whatever you want to call it, comes into the picture, is actually being able to actually put yourself in a stretched position and create contractions and awareness and be aware of that end range. That's where it starts. It doesn't start with a really heavy Jefferson curl or, you know, forcing yourself down, you know, like with weight or things like that. It starts with being in a stretch and understanding the demands of it. And you're at an end range. So I think, when I started, man, I just realized I had never stretched before, to be honest. Like, I've never actually held a stretch or, you know, earned the right to say that I've actually given this a fair shot. And that's where things, you know, snowball and we start going deeper and deeper.
Yeah, I remember the first time I attempted splits. Now, this going back a long time ago. And I just thought to myself, holy shit, what's just happened to me? It's like, I was like, why? This is worse than anything I've ever experienced in my life. But after a while, you get comfortable, you get safe. Your brain starts to feel a bit safer, so it allows you to push it. Because once you're strong enough to get into position and out of a position, you start to be able to get comfortable in it, and you start to be able to access it. And find that your methods of training a lot of flexibility. And a couple of other guys that you would follow and learn, like strongman archaeology and stuff. Because as much as his stuff is strength training, it's a hell of a lot of flexibility training as well. Strength training and flexibility training, it's like pain and focus, two sides of the same coin. You shouldn't really be able to tell them apart.
Yeah, for sure.
And generally, the way we look at it.
Yeah, I always find I think the way I always describe it, the way we try to sell it is there's just only two parts really to flexibility. There's making your body feel safe. So we reduce the threat levels in the body to allow you to move into more difficult ranges. And some practices are quite good at doing that. And then there's the other side of it, which is increasing the strength at end range, which is the second part of it, I guess. But if you don't address both of those, it kind of doesn't really happen. You can improve your strength at your end range, but if your end range is really bad because your body feels, all right, I don't know what's going on, because maybe you're lifting too heavy, too hard, too quick, then you're probably going to get really good at being in that range, but probably not any further out, which I think is a little bit like what you were talking about, of not making it too intense at the furthest that you can go straight away, because then your body will react and say, no, I don't like what's coming. And then no matter how much strength you try to build, actually, you're not going to get that little bit extra.
And just as you're talking there about building the strength and, going into repping into end range, you were talking a little while ago, it was on another workshop you were doing that I was in. In fact, this morning, it was all about the piriformis, and there was a question in it about the bench aided piriformis and repping forward. And that will build up strength to pull you into this position, but you'll never truly own that position, and that's why you'll end up injured in that position.
Yeah.
If you spend time, use strength to gain access there, and that's exactly it. Rep it out, get in there, but you want to go in and spend time in there to truly own a position, because you can't just do active. You need to have passive in there to truly get comfortable. You need to relax.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it does come more about, like, at the start, learning to condition your brain and nervous system to know what these positions feel like and that it's safe to be there. Like, once we know what it feels like and what's happening, we can start loading and performing these more, I guess, extreme kind of styles of strengthening and improving flexibility. But I mean, you never really move away from one or the other either, because training in life is not linear. So the more tools you have in your toolbox, like if I'm interrupted for some whatever reason in my life, that's how I look at it now, because I was interrupted in my powerlifting. I got injured quite badly, and that's what brought me to flexibility. So I can't say for sure that I'll never get injured again, because I put myself in scenarios where you never know, right? But I have the tools now, and I have the degrees of freedom in my movement capacities to better manage and deal with these setbacks, or these, you never know, right? These kind of scenarios that may happen. So it's a good feeling. Like, I guess if you were to actually say that there was a bulletproof feeling, it's knowing that you can manage and deal with the unpredicted or, unplanned kind of scenarios in your life. It's like, I know what to do, and I know it's going to be okay.
Yeah, 100%. That actually, so at the minute I'm dealing with that cartilage tear in the hip. But I'm not worried about it at all. It's fine. Once the acute pain's over with, which is pretty much now, I just go into the toolbox and I start working back. Anything I've had before is going to come back straight away. There's nothing, I'm not worried in the slightest. And that kind of works quite well in the way we teach things. So I think I've mentioned it before, it's mobilize, lengthen, stabilize, and strengthen.
Yeah.
It's slightly different for a lot of things. So, or mobilize is getting access to ranges in the joint. So getting the joint moving mechanically, but also getting neural activation going in there. So, sensory stimulus, things like that. Lengthening it is lengthening the ability to get into these positions, get comfortable there. Stabilizing it is what we would consider, getting it strong, being able to control it through your full range of motion. Most people would say that would be the strengthening part. Our strengthening end of it would be you're able to have options for the rest of the world. So if something unexpected happens, you have the strength to maybe not get as injured, if that makes sense, or so you're not totally busted and out of the game. So I think that's a good thing. That's exactly sort of what you're talking about, is options. You've got that kind of freedom that you go, I probably will get injured at some point.
Yeah, but, never know.
I think you're right that you probably don't ever get away with, like, some people say, like, oh, you do all this work so that you avoid injury entirely. But I think with the bulletproof analogy, if you have a bigger bulletproof vest, you'll just try and take bigger bullets. So like everyone's always going to push it to the maximum that they can do. But I guess the wider the exposure to things that you have, then even the most unexpected thing isn't actually that hard to bring yourself back from.
For sure. Yeah, and it's when you think about how we get injured, it's like, I mean, for the everyday person, it's like, rolling your ankle or tripping and falling or things like that. And like, I mean, I don't know how many times I've rolled my ankle in the last couple of years, like where I was like, oh shit. But it was fine, right? Like I had all this like, oh, okay, it's, like that could have been much worse. But the ability to rebound and recover from that is how we need to look at our training, is like, one of the reasons why we get so injured when those things happen is because we never expose ourselves to those things.
Yeah. And
that
the whole
bubble wrapped.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
The one you said, I was listening to, it was your most recent podcast where you were talking about, the basics, and I can't remember what you called it. It's something about being grounded, or but basically spending a lot of time down on the ground and down on the floor. And actually, I think that's a big thing, not just like for your strength and your range because of the positions you have to put yourself in, but one of the worst, like your worst injuries are going to send you to the ground. So like the worst things that happen are when you end up falling. And actually, if you're just on the ground with a ton of options rather than only 3, that's going to be pretty good as well.
Yeah, think about the simplicity of that. Like, what happens if I fall? We'll just spend some time sitting on the ground. So, so you know what the ground feels like. It's like, like no one even thinks about just sitting on the ground and spending time just, connecting in that kind of capacity. So it's that simple. Sometimes you think about it like, I'm afraid to fall, I don't want to get hurt. Well, learn how to actually sit on the ground, be there first.
And that all comes back to just safety, the brain feeling safe, because obviously we look at it all from a brain point of view. One of the main things your brain is worried about is falling over. It's literally like Futurama in the glass jar. It doesn't want to fall over onto the ground because the ground is going to break it. So if you get comfortable being on the ground and moving around the ground, all of a sudden that threat level is a little bit less. So it just allows you to move it more freer. It allows you maybe take a bit of a risk in movement. Say jump, or say if you're playing ice hockey, or something, it allows you to go a little bit further, a little bit faster, a little bit whatever. Because it's like, oh, I've been here before. I can just roll my way out of it.
Yeah.
So that to us is, safety is kind of the key. And I think a lot of people try and push, especially with flexibility training and strength training, try and push too far, too quick, so that their nervous system is a little bit petrified. What do you find that kind of, especially if somebody new jumps on your program, say, and the way if they're doing the basics and you've got them on a basics program, say they're just starting from scratch, they're very quickly like, I want to push, I want to do this. Do you ever feel like you need to go, no, you need to build the foundations for the house first?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've gotten also good at like knowing how to push someone with the basics. So that's the thing too, is like a lot of times it's more like a craving to feel like you're training harder. Yeah. And you can make anything hard, right? So you can make some of those basic applications and movements quite difficult for someone. And once you humble somebody, like again, if you sit on the floor and try to do a leg lift on the floor, it kind of humbles them real quick, and they realize like, oh, I shouldn't be pushing myself. I can't even lift my leg off the ground. It's like, yeah. So yeah, it's one of those things. And I think, when it does come to safety, it's the sooner you can introduce someone to the unsafe, the better. But it's just how you do that, right? Like flexing your back, it may be deemed unsafe, but if it's safely introduced and progressed, the sooner the better. So I think, yeah, in some ways, the sooner that you can introduce people to the unsafe, the better it will be. It's just knowing how you can push that and how you can cater it to someone who's like, of that mindset. So yeah, there's a couple, you got to have some tricks up your sleeve when you deal with those kind of people.
Yeah. I think that's got a lot of value for like people's buy-in as well. So like I always remember the old school kind of circus coaches that I would work with that would tell you, this is the shoulder position needs to be, way up above your head for this specific like handstand skill. All right, cool. Mine don't do that. So what should I do? Well, just keep pushing them up and they'll eventually get there. It's like, yeah, but they don't. Like, surely can't I just train it in this position? And it's like, well, no, that's wrong. That's not a safe position. And I was like, okay, but it's the position I'm going to get right now. Like, can't I make myself strong in this position? And then, from there, I'll probably progress and I'll probably find that the position you're telling me is a bit easier once I'm capable of it. But I feel like that approach, rather than it being, perfect form straight away or nothing at all, you actually get to experience all the little dangerous things that you can just start to work out on your own. Oh yeah, that actually doesn't feel as good. I can do it, but I'd rather be here. And you get people buy in a lot quicker.
Yeah, you can get a better understanding of your body, right? I think that's where you need to start, is understand your own body, rather than comparing yourself to what someone else might be doing. And then once you understand your own body's capacities, you can move it along the path, right?
Yeah, because every exercise you'll ever prescribe, once it's done once, even the same person can never repeat a movement exactly the same. It's impossible. It's totally impossible. Doesn't happen. So everything is slightly different, and that's how the brain obviously builds up safe options and safe like freedom of movement and stuff, because it's got all these little options that it's had in the past, so it can predict what's pretty much going to happen. But it's good to, as a coach, that somebody might be doing the same program as somebody else, but you want to build up that autonomy as quickly as possible, where they go, oh, this feels better if I'm slightly like this, or I'm slightly like that. You can't, as you say, you want to give people the freedom to learn their own body.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and and they build up their little maps in their head of their own body, because you'd be surprised how much modern living doesn't allow for that to happen.
Yeah, and it's everyone focuses on numbers and figures of what they should be doing, and I think that's where the flexibility training can help you escape that. Like, I mean, yoga is one thing, like being able to enter a practice where you're just going to move in and out of positions. It can sometimes be monotonous and a little too specific, but like if you need to stretch more on your left side than your right side today, then that's what your body needs, and learning that that's okay.
Yeah,
I think it's a very powerful tool for people who obsess over how much they need to do and why. And it's like, no, you just need to understand your body, what your body needs, kind of build off of that kind of approach.
Yeah, because there's nothing symmetrical in the body.
No.
Heart bigger on one side than the other, diaphragm's bigger on one side than the other. You were to open yourself up, nothing's even here. It's all messed up. It's all over the shop. And it's the exact same. So why would you think that something for one side is going to work exactly for the other side at any given point? It's totally right. So you just need to learn, oh, maybe I need to do an extra set, or I just actually need to do this side, or I might need to do something, as you say, I might need to maybe externally rotate this side, internally rotate the other side, whatever. Yeah, it's that kind of options thing. So have you, obviously now you've been doing flexibility for 8 years or so, like hardcore, diving deep. I know we've done a neural assessment and stuff in the past, and that with you, which I totally forgot about until you reminded me at the start. But have you noticed how much, obviously me talking about it a lot and James mentioned it, how much the eyes are actually, they can help you get that little bit further at certain points, and how important other senses like your vision, your inner ear, all that are. I'm sure you've probably now got like a healthy, rough knowledge of how important it can be.
Yep. And for me, it's like the more I can challenge the basics, the longer I know I'm going to be, able to pursue the things I want to pursue in my training. And the brain and those kind of vestibular things are about deepening and broadening your basics. And that's been a big one for me, whereas like all I have to think about on this next lift or whatever is about where my eyes are going or what I'm thinking about that way, or, how I'm approaching those different angles. And that's a powerful piece, right? Like you can never have enough of an understanding of how the whole body works as a unit, the brain, the nervous system, and the muscles. So yeah, that's been a big game changer for me. And it's even helped me with other people too. Like, and again, when people are worried about whatever they're feeling and whatnot, and then you can direct their attention to what they're actually doing with their eyes, or how they're directing their breath and those kind of things. Like, yeah, that's a very powerful tool.
Yeah.
For what you were saying earlier about like you can make anything as hard, like I guess people see the straight route of, this is the complex skill and then this is how it's broken down, but actually every single bit under that, like the more basic components, can be made infinitely more difficult in any other direction that isn't going towards that skill. So yeah, whether it's just you're in your squat and is it an eye position, or you throwing and catching something, is there someone hitting you trying to
that's a bit drastic,
lose your balance? I've seen that in a lot of martial arts. Like that was my one when I was about 7 years old or 8 years old, and I remember being in a martial arts class, and they were doing someone who was going for a black belt grading and had to do a horse stance, and he just said everyone's just allowed to go up and just like whack, slap, punch. You weren't allowed to go for the face, but you could just do whatever you wanted. And she just like stood there and had to take it. And this is only like a really vague memory. I was definitely like 8 years old, and I just remember going like, "Oh, that's really weird." But
yeah, that is really weird. I don't know any martial art that does that.
But in terms of strengthening, like,
well, I mean, the Shaolin, they do that at the Shaolin still, right? Like holding a stance and getting hit with a stick is like, it's a whole different kind of way of training your brain and training your endurance capacities to take those kind of things. Like, because again, at the end of the day, it's like pain. Like, what kind of pain is it? And how do you define pain? And everyone's always talking about pain. It's like, is it pain? Like, what is pain? And I think that's why athletes are so easy to work with. Like, I don't work with as many athletes as I used to, but they're always so easy to work with, or even former athletes, because they've experienced high thresholds in their bodies. So when you start like, getting in and asking them to do more, it's a lot easier to coach them through that. But maybe you just need to hit them with a stick. I don't know.
Given the chance, always hit somebody with a stick. Not randomly in the street, like with consent. Don't just run around because you're going to get arrested. But it's sensory.
Yeah, it's another side of the same coin of like being aware in your body. Well, pain is the same thing. So if you just get someone in off the street and they're stretching for a little while, it's like, well, this hurts. And it's like, okay, well, how bad does it feel? And if they're not used to that sensation, their brain's going, well, I don't know either. Could be, it's somewhere between, the guy picking up the weight or pulling the plane. It's like, is either really bad or not bad or somewhere in the middle. And I'm not sure. So to keep me safe, I'll assume it's somewhere really up bad. Higher, like it's worse. Whereas if you get someone who, a contortionist, and they get like they had their coach in the past was pulling them and yanking everything, and they'll go, oh, this is kind of sore. Okay, how bad is it? And they'll be able to tell you exactly. It's like, yeah, no, it's not a problem. It's just I don't like it right now. It's something I can deal with.
It's just your brain saying, be aware of this. This shit ain't cool. Kind of, basically. But yeah,
learning discomfort.
Yeah, exactly. Always flirt with discomfort. Always. It's really good intensity. So unfortunately, learning can happen, instantly. It just depends how intense it is. So, put your hand on a fire, you're going to learn pretty quick that it burns. Unfortunately, intensity is usually lent more towards uncomfortable, not nice things than the good things. There's way more intense bad things than there are good. So learning that discomfort and pushing the intensity a little bit further into discomfort is a great thing for helping certain learning. So like, inflexibility, you're never really going to get very far if you don't stretch to the point that you don't feel it.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. So I think there's a lot to be said for learning to get comfortable in the discomfort a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and the workshop we just did there, we talked about those rules of thumb, right? Like learning, how a stretch sensation ramps up over the hold of a stretch, not necessarily getting into your deepest stretch and seeing how it feels, but like I could create a stretch sensation quite easily and then let it like build up, and these are like the pieces that people need to learn, right? Is like how actually it feels to create discomfort rather than just like be in discomfort. You have to learn how to create it, kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. You can generate a lot of force without having to be in range, without having to be at the end of your range of movement. Force is a massive, massive tool when it comes to helping you get that stretch, helping you actually, because a lot of people stretch to release a muscle, so to speak. Just as a general term, let's not break it down. But a lot of people would stretch to release a muscle, say the hamstrings or whatever. But actually, they've got it in their head. They just need to lengthen a stretch and lengthen the range of movement. But they can actually contract, relax. There's all different types of stretching available there, and all different types of force that can be generated, and they can get the same result. And I think that's a big light bulb for a lot of people once they realise this. I think then their training goes from like petering along to straight up, because there's so many things they can do.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, but yeah, that's really it. We promised we keep it short, so you can get on and enjoy your Sunday.
Yeah, it's all good, man. I appreciate you guys having me on.
It was just nice to get a chat with you, because we haven't spoken in a while either.
Yeah.
I've been listening to all your podcasts as well. So.
Well, everyone keeps asking me why my eyes are looking up when I squat now. And I just say it's because of you guys. So if my eyes go up, then the weight goes up. So
it's true, though. It's exactly true. Get all them spinal muscles firing.
Yeah, it's working.
That's it. It has to be done. Although I have noticed, though, there are some people that they just do not like moving their eyes. They just hate it. Don't want it.
Yeah,
it's like a fear. I feel with squatting too. It's like a fear. It's like if people aren't they don't know where their body's going.
Yeah,
they're afraid to take their eyes off of that direction.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, your eyes give you more strength of what you can see. So if you can see it, then even if your body doesn't talk to you, at least your eyes can, keep track. So as soon as it starts going a direction it wasn't meant to be going, you can tell that it's happening. You go, oh, fix that. But once you're looking away.
Yeah, it's really fun asking someone. Now, don't do it on a max out weight or anything above 80%. I wouldn't even think of trying this, but get them to squat 4 or 5 reps with their eyes open, then get them to squat 4 or 5 reps with their eyes closed. And they will find it so much harder with their eyes closed, because your eyes will give you access to a lot of strength, because as James says, you can see what's happening. You're like, oh, all's good. But as soon as you close your eyes, your brain's going, lads, what have you done? It's like driving with no lights on in the dark.
Yeah.
It's like there's something bad going to happen, so it will make you weaker. And it's just one of those nice little things. Like, especially if you've got an athlete that's injured and they want to come back, and you go, why am I doing all these eye exercises? And you're like, trust me, do this, and you'll see why your eyes are important. But yeah, try that. Try that for the crack, and let us know.
Yeah, I will for sure.
But yeah, we'll let you shoot on.
Great.
As I said,
Cool.
short and sweet, half an hour, 40 minutes, job done. But yes, jump on Instagram if you don't follow Lucas already, which anyone that watches this, I'm sure already does. You know, but Range of Strength, get flexy, get strong.
Yeah.
You know, look good in t-shirts and small shorts. You know.
Yeah, that's it. That's the new slogan.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on, guys. I appreciate it, and I look forward to sharing this out once you guys post it up.
Thanks a lot, dude. Right, no problem. We'll speak to you later. Have a good Sunday.